Hey, what's going on? Kind of just getting started here, and not actually sure if everything's even working properly. Oh, I think we're going. Cool. Just really getting started in this thing. This will be the first installment of dating with a plan and a purpose, and we'll see how it goes. And thank you for just joining in, and apologize for the little delay. But the reason for this video is I thought I could share some insight, at least based on my experience, and we'll see how you guys like it. The first installation of this series, if you want to call it that, is basically the biggest failure in modern relationships. To me, the biggest failure in modern relationships is people that let other people lead and dictate what their relationship should be like, look like, who it should be with. And some of this information or this thought process is coming out of movies. It could be Lifetime, could be books, novels, could be friends, could be parents. It could be a lot of different factors. But the biggest issue is if you don't have any experience on your own, what they tell you may not actually even be your experience. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. We as individuals should be responsible and accountable leaders in our personal relationships. Now, if you're looking at it in terms of, who you submit to and, if submission is good and all this other stuff, we'll probably talk about that in a different session. But for now, we're talking about really just being a leader in your own relationship. We're talking about personal relationships, but this can also apply to your friendships and other relationships as well. No man can tell you that he believes you're his wife. Well, I take that back. He can tell you he believes you're his wife. But you being a leader in your relationship, his statement or his declaration should be a confirmation of something you already know. Now, if you guys just met, more likely, he just trying to push game on you. But this is something you should really, really consider. And it's also a reason to keep your guard up. And when I say keep your guard up, I'm talking about as far as losing the game. Or losing the game is getting feelings for somebody that don't have feelings for you. That being said, you must be the leader in deciding who you should date or marry, and not just a follower in this regard. However, this doesn't always apply in every culture. And in that situation, you'd have a different approach. Some cultures have arranged marriages. Some cultures have political marriages, where you can only really marry somebody based on how it's going to benefit your family or your government or whoever. And sometimes it could be just a marriage that depends on the type of man that's pursuing you. Like you may, that family may look for somebody who has a lot of, let's just say, goats or land or riches that they can provide to the other family to help them gain a better financial or political or status position in that culture. But in that regard, it would take a different approach. Now, one caveat I would say to having other people in life, influence you, is basically having self-discipline. And self-discipline is actually a really, really good thing. But in today's society, a lot of times people are just telling you, if it feels good, do it. But I don't believe that's necessarily a good thing. And one of such restraints, I would say, or forms of self-discipline, is I believe people have a covering, and their covering could be religious beliefs, that could be their parents, and also it could be perceived consequences, or a combination of those, if not other things as well. But there's a situation where, and everybody really deals with it, is where we can have a desire to do something, but there are always going to be consequences. Anybody tells you there aren't going to be any consequences for any decisions that you have is not very, either they're not really intelligent, or they don't really have your best interests in mind. And sometimes a situation where people kind of get protected or can be under this protection is that there are a lot of men and women that are hiding that they really want to be promiscuous. And by being promiscuous, we're talking about plainly just having sex outside of marriage, if we want to put it blunt. And some people, if they had the opportunity, they would do it. Other people, they look for opportunities as excuses to do it. Somebody made me do it, or he hoodwinked me into doing it, or she did this and I ended up doing it. But excuses don't get rid of consequences. And there are a lot of people who they're under beliefs, their parents, and their desire really, they're really battle with their desire to do things that they know they should not be doing. And that could be a dangerous situation to be in. And the reason why it's dangerous is because you know it's something you shouldn't be doing, but you don't know why you shouldn't be doing it. And you even have a situation where you have good girls or good women that envy women that don't have any boundaries or rules to follow. We'll call them bad girls. And bad girls, a lot of times, they only celebrate and report the good times they have in their lives, because that's the only thing they really have to hold on to. They can have false hope in a man that will only invest in a woman part-time or on an as-needed basis, such as, with a booty call. You also, if you are talking to a bad girl or a woman that you consider that has total freedom, and you like her confidence and her willingness to go out there and do things that you wouldn't do, ask her to tell you about the bad times. She'll tell you about the good times, but ask her to tell you about the bad times. Tell her about the times when she's lonely. Tell you about the times when she's feeling hurt. And in some cases, once you find out all this stuff, you might find out that the bad girl that you really, really admire, she might actually envy your life more than you envy her. But you don't know it because your focus is on her and not looking at actually what you have. As a good woman or a good girl, you could be winning and you don't even know it. And there's a common saying that says, the grass is not always greener on the other side. And this is very, very true. There are a lot of times we in our lives, we think that we're going through the worst situations and nobody understands us, and that your world is just really falling apart. But in a lot of situations, that's not really true. Or it could be seen to be true in our perception. But once you hear about what somebody else is going through, you realize that your life is not really that bad. But that being said, I think a lot of bad girls end up being shared by different men. And there are some men that actually share women. And these are usually the guys that have bad intent. If they're willing to pass you around to their friends, then there's no way they're going to be committed to you ever. And the man that actually doesn't want to share you is really the best man for you. Because not only is he not going to share you with anybody, he's not really going to share himself with anybody as well, because he would respect you enough in that regard. But I think a lot of times the women that the bad girls, the ones that are really, really free, sometimes they really don't have as much as self-esteem as you think they do. A lot of times people exhibit bad behaviors because they're not confident. And sometimes they don't have enough self-esteem to get their own man. But the good girl trap is believing that you are missing out. I heard this one song one time. It's called Blurred Lines. And the whole premise of the song is to seem to me to get good girls, good women, to basically let down their hair and do what everybody else is doing. And that's really just being more of a easy target for men that just don't really value women. They value the quantity of women over a quality woman. And that's where a lot of times I believe people get hung up, is that being with a man that you perceive as quality doesn't really benefit you unless that's reciprocated. He must see you as quality as well and then treat you as quality. But just having some access to him is really not a benefit to you. And then on top of that, having a situation where you fall in love with this guy that's not in love with you, it's even worse benefit, because now you're stuck. And that don't necessarily mean that you can't fall out of love with people, because I've heard that happen all the time. But there are some people that you really just shouldn't fall in love with. And that'll be something else that I want to try to talk about in this series. Guard your heart. But be careful about the music. Be careful about movies. Be careful about people. Their experiences, they could be important, but their experiences may not actually be your experiences. And it's very important that you always look at your own life before you look at somebody else's life. They can tell you about their experience, but in the same token, let them learn about your experiences. If your experiences have been better, tell them, because they may need some encouragement. But don't always believe the bad stuff, because a lot of times you're only just hearing one side of the story. But pretty much that's our first discussion topic, is the biggest failure in modern relationships to me is people not leading their own, I guess you could say, their own journey into finding a good relationship with people, whether it be a friendship, whether it be romantic, or any other type of relationships. And of course, depending on the relationship, that's going to determine what you need to do or not do. But thank you for your time. Hope this helps somebody. But tell me what you think in the comments. Does this help? Do you think do you have any questions about my point of view on a certain topic? Put it in the comments, and I might just have to make a video about it. But that being said, hope you guys have a great afternoon. And this has been Dating with a Plan and a Purpose.